So do you ever feel like financial freedom's out of reach? Or maybe you've heard things like financial freedom's only for the people that earn six figures. And I think these myths are everywhere. And I think they could be potentially holding you back to obtaining financial freedom or even thinking that it's achievable for yourself. So in today's video, I'm going to be debunking these myths so that you can start working towards obtaining financial freedom. So why should you listen to me? My partner and I, we have managed to grow our property portfolio to over £1 million in under 2 years. And on this channel, what we talk about is having the right mindset, financial education, and essentially just documenting our journey to financial freedom. So if there's something that you're interested in, feel free to stick around. So myth one, you need a six-figure salary before you can start investing. And that's simply not true. Before I started earning six figures, I was definitely an advocate for investing, even starting small. I know so many people that even started investing with just £50, but in high paying interest rate return accounts, and ultimately taking the concept of compound interest into account. So what we're going to do is look into an example of compound interest and what you invest in essentially would return you rather than you doing nothing at all. So what I've done here is simply Googled compound interest calculator. And so I've just picked the first one, nothing fancy. But here, so if we look at £1,000 as your initial investment, with an interest rate of 7%, because some banks are actually offering that, and that's on an annual basis. And the compound frequency is monthly and the compound interest is monthly. Then we will put over a 5 year period, and here it asks you for additional contributions. So if you'll make any more contributions, let's just say, and we just do it on a very basic level. So you put £1, £1,000, and you don't do anything with it. You would essentially earn £417.63p in a year. Now, if you were making monthly payments of say £150, it asks here, deposits made at what point in the period? Let's say the beginning, annual deposit increase. So will you be increasing the deposit that you're putting in on an annual basis? Let's say you increase it by 1%. Let's calculate it and see what happens. So over a 5 year period, it's telling you your future value investment will be £12,000 and your total interest would be £2,240. Now that's literally just you committing to making a £1,000 investment, holding it for 5 years, and then making an additional £150 each year across that 5 years. And then it further breaks it down here. And you don't have to do anything further than that. So it's not like you're actively working for this money. This is one way to demonstrate compound interest in comparison to you doing nothing, which means you will have zero. So compound interest really is interest earned on interest that has already been earned, because each time you earn interest and each time money is paid into your account is also earned on that already. Hope that makes sense. But aside from compound interest, there are other ways that you can start small, such as fractional property investing. So let me provide a definition for that. Fractional property investment is a method of investing in real estate where multiple investors pool their money to collectively purchase and own property. So essentially, each investor has a fraction or percentage of the property proportional to the amount that they have contributed. And so really this allows individuals or yourself to essentially have access to high value properties or commercial property, if that's something that you're interested in, without having to worry about raising funds in its entirety. And so some of the key features of fractional property investment is essentially having shared ownership. So not having to worry about what comes with owning a property in its entirety. Low entry cost. So of course you don't have to worry about raising 100% of the funds for what you're trying to invest in, because it's shared between other people. And of course you would have legal agreements in place to cover this. And passive income, because ultimately I imagine that's why you invest in, because you want some income without having to actively work for it. So that's essentially your passive income coming in. So you might be wondering, how do I even get into fractional property investing? So there's some platforms that provide this service. Now this is not sponsorship or recommendation. If you did a simple Google search, you would see some results come up, and it may be things such as a platform called British Pearl, which essentially is a UK-based platform specialising in fractional property investing, allows you to invest in property shares, benefiting from passive income and market growth. Another one is Popti, which is a global platform that combines the freedom of the stock market with the stability of property investing. So there are some platforms that you can consider if you wanted to go into fractional property investing. So myth 3, property investment is too risky. Isn't property risky? And that's a question that I come across often. And yes, there's always a risk in investing. There's a risk in anything. But I think it's all about being able to manage your risk effectively. And so I think with the right research, property investment can be one of the safest ways to grow your wealth. Now, if you compare that to having a business, for example, not that I'm against having a business, but every month you're almost starting from zero because you have to be able to generate revenue or have a product and be able to sell that or even have the stock available. However, with property, once you put in the active work up front, so whether you're buying a property, renovating it, and then you're renting it out, that rent is recurring. So for that entire year, for example, you've rented out your property, it's recurring income and then it becomes passive. And so actually I think invested in property is one of the less risky ways to obtain wealth or even just have a extra means of income. The myth 4, having to sacrifice your lifestyle in order to save. Has anyone ever said to you, or have you ever heard, if you want to save money, you have to really stop enjoying your life? Now, for me personally, that is simply not the case. It is not true. The financial freedom for me is not about depriving yourself. I think it's about being intentional about where you're spending your money and really making your money work for you. So putting each pound that you earn to use. So I've spoken about this in one of my previous videos, so budgeting. So I think budgeting allows you to save and spend. Now, in the link below, I've spoken about some strategies such as the 50-30-20 rule. This is one of the ways that you can really look at budgeting and really take control of your money. And the way that you can do that is can be used via some apps or just simply starting with Excel in order to budget. So looking at your income and what your expenses are and really know where each pound is going to. And there's also this concept of value-based spending. So that's cutting down on things that don't really matter, things that you don't really need, and focusing on things that you do need. Myth 5. So this myth is all about not being able to spend and enjoy your life. Now, I am no stranger to enjoying her life. For me, one of the things that I enjoy personally is traveling. And that's something that I ensure that I do with my family every year. And if that's multiple times a year, or if it's biannually, it's something that I ensure that we complete in the year because that's just what brings me joy and happiness. So I may then cut down on things such as takeaways. I may not do that as often, and I may do a lot more meal prep at home and making it exciting with the family. And so that ultimately adds up over time, which then frees up some income for me to then splurge a little throughout the year. So honestly, I think it's all about being able to budget and know where your money's going, really know what's important to you, and finding smart ways or strategic ways in order to achieve that lifestyle that you're after, at the same time ultimately focusing your goal to financial freedom. So let me know in the comments if there's any myths that you've come across that you think is potentially holding you back, and let's discuss. And if you've gained any value from this, please do like, subscribe, and share it to anyone that you think also needs to hear this and needs some motivation in order to get going. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.